there were certain prospects heading into the 2016 college football season. I was really excited to see the potential, the possibility of what could be for them. And one of those guys that I was really anxious to see how they would come into this season was Carl Lawson, the edge rusher from Auburn, because he's really been a great tease throughout his college football career, especially through 2014, 2015. Here was a guy at times that just flashed incredible explosiveness and burst in athleticism off the edge. A guy at times that flashed to me big time pass rush, big time NFL pass rush potential. But just when you'd seem like you were going to get that out of him, then he gets hurt. He does this. He's got a cracked hip. He's got that injury. And it was always frustrating because I thought this guy had first round NFL talent. So I wanted to see, one, if he could stay healthy in 2016, and if he did, how would he come back from those injuries? How would he respond? And how would he ultimately play? Well, the good thing for him is he finally pieced together, for the first time in a few years, a healthy football season. And I think that helped him. He needed that. That was very important to him in his draft stock as much as anything else. Because there were going to be teams that looked at him as a talented player, but how much of an investment did you want to take on a guy if he couldn't make it through a whole college football season? He would have no chance of making it through an entire NFL season. Well, he mostly got the job done in 2016, having that ability of availability, and that was very important to him. But it was somewhat disappointing as I watched the film of Lawson in 2016. I just didn't see the same player I had seen a couple of years before. I still think he's got decent quickness and burst off of the edge, but it's not the same. Now, maybe this is something that can still come back to him, and I will have to confess, I thought he was a little bit more impressive in the drills and etc. at the combine than I envisioned he was going to be. I thought he looked more athletic than I frankly saw on the football field. And hopefully that's a harbinger of he's getting back to that level of the athleticism, the burst, the explosiveness, the quickness, the speed that I saw in 2014 and 2015 in flashes on film. But I'm going off of the entirety of the body of work in 2016, and I saw a guy at times that could burst off of the edge, but he didn't do it nearly as consistently as he had before. And he had a lack of that explosiveness that he had in years past. I thought it really showed in the open field. Still adequate as an athlete. I've seen some that really knock him as an athlete. I think that's a bit too far. But he's not the same explosive player he was previously at Auburn. And again, that could be the injuries taking a toll, or it was just he needed more time to recover from the injuries, and it takes time sometimes to come back from things like that. But it was a major thing to watch for him, and I was disappointed that I didn't see a more explosive athlete than I had seen in years past. I think it somewhat impacted his abilities as a pass rusher. I still think he's got some pass rush upside at the NFL level. And even though where I end up having him graded is where I have him graded, he would still be a guy that I would entertain taking a little bit higher. He shows some ability to bend the edge, but again, I thought he showed more ability to bend the edge in 2014 and 2015 because there were times on film in big time games, Carl Lawson made some big time plays that can't be dismissed, that can't be disputed. And that's the type of guy that I was hoping I was going to see in 2016 to be talking about being a first round pick, and it's just not there. He's not great against the run, and frankly, I don't know if he's ever going to be great against the run, but he's got a good motor, especially as a pass rusher. So I think that's something that'll help him, but at the end of the day, he's going to have to make his hay as a pass rusher. He does struggle to get off a block some. He's probably not as strong as he need to be. He's not as long as he would want to be. I mean, he really has trouble with his hand punch in terms of allowing offensive tackles to get into his body. He really needs to work on his hand usage. That'll help him a lot, especially in terms of some of his secondary pass rush moves. He's a guy at times when you talk about maybe the lack of explosiveness and fluidity of hips in the open field, where it really shows itself in his tackling and his finishing of plays, because he can really struggle if the play requires any type of quick shifting or changing movements at all. He can get kind of off balance, and he misses some plays that he frankly should make, and frankly a better athlete would make. Now again, going into 2017 in the NFL, another year removed from any major injury, maybe he'll get some of that ability back. But again, I have to go in large part based off of the film of 2016, not necessarily the player that I want to see in 2017. That's what I have to grade off of in part. I say he's got a good motor. I think his effort in pursuit sometimes can be a little average, but as a pass rusher, he's got really good motor. But the big key for Carl Lawson, as much as anything else, a guy with a torn ACL in 2014, a cracked hip in 2015, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the football field. That's the biggest thing of all. Because no matter what he can do, or what you think he could do, if he can't stay healthy and he can't play, it doesn't matter. And Carl Lawson to me is the epitome of a guy that I look at and I say, if I was in charge of an organization, he's the guy that I look at the beginning of day 3, which is where I have him graded, is a 4th round pick, 78.0 for his final grade. I look at him and I say, you know what? Here's a guy with potential, with upside, who's had trouble staying healthy. But if he stays healthy, he has a very good chance to vastly outplay his draft position. He may eventually play like a 2nd or even 1st round talent. And that's what I think Carl Lawson can do. Now, again, I've got some concerns if he doesn't get back any more of the explosiveness or athleticism he once did. I think there's a very good chance we don't really hear much out of Carl Lawson come the NFL level, which is part of the reason why I wouldn't want to touch him until round 4. I think at the end of the day, the combine and the off-season stuff has helped him throughout the draft process. I think his floor in terms of the draft is probably round 3. There's a chance he might even go in round 2. It's just for me, again, based off of the draft, the history of the draft, and when looking at the certain types of prospects you want to take in certain spots, once I get into day 3 territory, these are the type of guys I want to start gambling on. I don't know if I want to gamble on these type of guys in round 2 or round 3.